Calgary Fish Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today marks the end of probably one of the most disappointing legislative sessions I've ever been a part of. We have a new Premier who was elected by promising many things to many people, and over the course of this short session, she's broken just about every single one of them. Albertans had a lot of hope for this new Premier who's promised to be different. Instead, what they've seen is broken promises everywhere. My questions are to the Premier about your promises. Now that your Health Quality Council legislation is passed, will you commit, as you have promised?
The Honourable the Premier, please. The Honourable the Premier, please.
Mr. Speaker, we have said very clearly that we're pleased this legislation is passed. It's going to give the Health Quality Council the opportunity that we've asked them to take. The Health Quality Council, as I've said before, is undergoing the work that they need to do with respect to the inquiry that's in place right now. As we move ahead and see the results of that, that's going to allow us to determine what the terms of reference should be for the public inquiry, and we're looking forward to seeing what the results of that report are at the beginning of February, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member.
Premier, you have the ability to call it before the next election. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again to the Premier. Given the millions upon millions of unbudgeted spending commitments you have made both during your leadership race and since you've become Premier, and given that you're the only person in Alberta who knows when the next election is, will you commit to table the next budget before you call the election so Albertans can see the full extent of the budget before they cast their ballots?
The Honourable the Premier.
Mr. Speaker, we all know that there's going to be an election next year, and we also know that government will continue to do the business of government. We as a caucus, we as a cabinet, Treasury Board are meeting and preparing that budget, and we'll continue to do that work, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member.
That's what I said. Broken promises. She can't even answer the question.
Okay, we're going to go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please.
Given that this government has known for a long time that the lack of long-term care beds in this province is triggering a crisis in the whole health system, and given that just yesterday you said that your government has been heavily involved in addressing this for the last 2 months, can you assure Albertans and our seniors that before the next election you will commit to build at least 500 new long-term care beds, not continuing care beds, long-term care?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, as I think the honourable member knows, because it's been repeated in this House many times, this government has a plan to deliver 5,300 additional continuing care spaces over 5 years. Last year, we opened 1,300 spaces. This year, we're on track to open 1,000 more.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Highlands.